Hi, everybody. Can we please give a round of applause to all the teens that have put on this event today, because that's just amazing. I love being involved in things that are teen-led and designed, and this event has been that, and it's an honor to be here. So let's get started. Where's our slides at? Here we go. Never place a period where God has placed a comma. I used this quote a few years ago in a talk that I gave on authentic self-expression. And it's a quote by Gracie Allen, and I used it in the context of the tools that I use in order to bring my most authentic self to the world. And in that talk, one of the tools was commas versus periods, meaning that I was inviting people to insert more commas in their life than periods. Oftentimes in life, I think that we stop things before they even had a chance to begin, or we give up just before the big win. And this tool got a lot of traction. People started talking about it, even the coordinator of this event. And so when she called me, she said, "Would you give a talk on this tool, commas versus periods?" I said, "Sure," although somewhat reluctantly, because she made this phone call during a time in my life where I was rapidly firing out periods, so it was rather humorous to be reminded of my own tool. So the best way to kind of understand this concept is in relation to people that have achieved success after multiple rejections, okay? So muggle, anybody know what one is? Please tell me, raise a show of hands. You know, you would not know what one was if J.K. Rowling had given up, because Harry Potter was rejected between 9 and 11 times. Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham, those would not be part of your childhood memories if Seuss had placed a period after his 27th rejection. And how many of us would keep going after being rejected 1,009 times? Sanders did, and now you enjoy KFC as a result of that. These examples inspire us because they tell us, okay, maybe if I just take a pause, I don't give up, and I go for it just one more time, that might be the chance that I actually win and make it and have a Seuss and Sanders success. But lately I've been thinking more about how this concept relates to everyday life and daily interactions. I mean, I get it in regards to business, I do. And I even get it in response to sports and athletics, take a break, but get after it, go for it, you've got this. But where I see myself rapidly firing periods in my life is when it comes to relationships, not only with myself, but with others. So here's some examples, and we'll see if you relate. Okay. Somebody does something, and instead of asking them to clarify why they did it, I draw my own conclusion, I make an assumption, I put a period, and I move on. I'll be in the middle of a heated discussion, and instead of taking a break, a pause, a breath, I'll say something, and then I'll walk away. And when it comes to experiences of failure or rejection, I might start using extreme language like, "This always happens to me." Or, "Thank you." There's relativeness in the audience. Thank you. Or, "Every single time I put myself out there, this happens." And I think when we use that extreme language, that's a way of placing a period in the definition of our life and our experience. So, we're going to take some examples of what happens when you actually remove a period and place a comma. And let's notice the shift we actually feel inside when we do it. Oh, this is not the right slide, so we're going to move until we find it. This is not the right one. Here it is. And there it went. We'll do it again. It's all good. Ta-da! I used to be a teacher. This is not nice. Moving on. Okay. He is so annoying. Period. Okay? Versus, he is so annoying, comma, but I wonder if it's because he's going through something right now. Life sucks, period. Versus, life sucks, and maybe there's something I can do to make it better. I got rejected, period. Versus, I got rejected, comma, and I'm confident that that just means something better is around the corner. When we place these periods, what we've done is we've created these definitive statements. It's like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is what it is. And here's the deal. Life is not meant to be lived in such a definitive way. There's not a lot of things that we know for sure. We don't know if we're going to have the same job forever, when we're going to get married, if we're even going to stay married. But oftentimes as human beings, we create these definitive moments. We place these periods, or full stops, as the British call them, because they help us, we think they help us, navigate the gray areas in life. But here's the deal. I think living like that is a way of living in fear. And I believe that living with more commas versus periods is brave. Why? Because if we consider a period as an ending, as a chance, as an opportunity where we cut somebody out without explanation, or we make an assumption without clarity, or we run instead of stay, that's not really brave to me. It's easy to avoid and run away. I mean, I want to qualify that statement because sometimes in life it's absolutely necessary to walk away and even run without explanation. And I've done that in my own life and encouraged others to do that in situations that are abusive. But those exceptions aside, avoiding, ghosting, that's the easier way. When we stay, it actually means that we might have to deal with some things, like we may actually have to own up to a mistake if we hang out. We might have to compromise, have uncomfortable conversations. Maybe you'll have to listen more than you talk and actually deal with some feelings. And if you're not used to doing those things, that can feel tough. And it feels like hard work. And when humans think that things are tough and there's hard work, that's when the justification process begins. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like when we start saying things like, I've always been like this. I've been hot-headed since a kid. I mean, what do you expect from me? Or it's, you don't understand what I'm going through because you've never gone through what I've gone through. I don't really feel like those statements are good enough reasons for us to not evolve and grow. I mean, I think it's very important to acknowledge our patterns and recognize our history and why we've done things. But using language like, it is what it is, it's never going to change, there's nothing I can do about it, is defeatist language. And I think that we do that out of fear. So how can we stop doing that? Or at least doing it a little bit less? Well, as I said, I've been trying to insert more commas into my life instead of periods, and I've been going about it by asking myself a very simple question. Are you willing to see this differently? So often in life, we are just so used to the perspective and the lens that we've been viewing things, and asking this simple question allows us the opportunity to potentially just shift our thought and our perspective just a little bit. So I've been trying to do this when it comes to a fear that I have of people taking advantage of me and screwing me over. I know that's not a very cliche fear, but it's one that I've had. And usually when it happens, my reaction is, I'm over this, I'm done with them, this is what's happening again, I'm out of here and I'm running for the hills. Well, remember I said that I've been trying to do things a little bit differently. So now when I feel that happening, I ask myself this question, are you willing to see this differently? And usually the answer is yes. Sometimes it's not right away. Sometimes I get a little angry and I have to cool off a little bit, but eventually I come to yes. And then a very interesting thing happens. Another round of questions comes to mind because I start seeing things from a different perspective. And all of a sudden I'm considering, maybe there's something going on in their life right now that's making them act like that. Maybe they're going through something tough. Or maybe I can offer up some compassion instead of so much judgment. And maybe before I say what it is I want to say, I'm going to take a couple breaths, and then I'm going to respond instead of react. And interestingly enough, there's been a shift in my life and in my behavior. Now, how about with all of you? Do you know what your kind of triggers are, or when you can tell that you're heading into full stop period, I'm cutting them out of my life mode? For me, my kind of warning signs are impatience. When I'm not getting what I want when I want it, and it's pretty unattractive because it kind of looks like that character from Willy Wonka when she's stomping her foot and she's like, I want it now. And I kind of like, I don't really stomp my foot, but the behavior is kind of like that. So impatience is a warning sign for me. And then anger, when I can kind of feel my blood start to boil. And so as a result of asking myself this question, are you willing to see things differently? When I get that warning sign of impatience, now I go, although I'm not hearing what it is I want to hear right now, I'm willing to consider another perspective. And maybe, just maybe, it's not all about me. And then when I feel this sense of anger, I tell myself and I remind myself that words that I usually say out of anger are words that I regret. And so I pause, take a few breaths, and then I respond. And here's the deal. There have been some very interesting side effects as a result of this new behavior. I regret less. I no longer say and do things that I regret. I empathize more. As a result of taking those pauses, being willing to consider a different perspective, I'm able to understand why somebody might be saying what they're saying or doing what they're doing, and so I have more empathy. And also, I forgive easily. Pauses allow me the opportunity to give up resentments, not only towards other people, but towards myself. So here's the deal. Whether we're pursuing a dream and we face a setback, or we face a disappointment, or maybe even the setbacks and the disappointments that we face in our daily life, let's try not to rapidly insert a full stop, a period, an assumption. Let's consider that maybe if we just stepped back for a moment, regrouped, and went for it just one more time, that just might be the time that you make that win. And then when it comes to our personal life, maybe, instead of running, you stay. Instead of making an assumption, you have a conversation. And instead of reacting, just take a breath. And maybe in doing so, you'll create a life not only for yourself, but for those around you that encourage more patience, acceptance, and joy. So please, be brave, use commas instead of periods. Thank you so much.